just opens that race up because it takes Arsenal out of the equation. So now suddenly you've got those teams all within a point of each other as they head into the final day for everybody bar Manchester City, and of course with Forest and Chelsea playing each other on the final day of the season. It just looks now you've got Newcastle, Chelsea, Villa, Man City and Nottingham Forest all within a point of each other as things stand. There's a chance for City against Bournemouth on Tuesday night to make sure that they can really put themselves in the driving seat there. But, I mean, it couldn't really be much closer, Flo.
No, it's so exciting, and I think Newcastle will be especially disappointed given how well they've done against Arsenal in this season, in the League Cup as well. They ended up, I think it was the semi-final, they beat them on the route to the final. So they will be, and I don't think they conceded in any of those games either, so they'll be really disappointed about that result, because if they had got that momentum, they would have felt like, OK, we're in the driving seat now.
I think Isak was a massive miss, Flo.
Yeah, Callum Wilson having to come in wasn't ideal, so they now have to do it on the final day, and that's a lot of pressure, because most teams wouldn't want that.
And they have a home game, but it's against Everton, and I know Everton don't have anything to play for, but they've looked strong at times in the league, certainly since David Moyes has come in. So it's not necessarily a straightforward game for them to have on the last day of the season. The matchup between Forest and Chelsea could be the one. You know, there's a scenario where Forest and Chelsea could draw, and that isn't enough for either of them. They're the teams that miss out.
Yeah, also Aston Villa playing at Man United away. Yeah. You know, it's all the Villa fans at the moment are excited that the Man United, you know, they won't be prepared for that game. Depends on obviously the European final. But I think you still have to go and perform. You still have to go and put performance and win those games. And, right, we've been in a game. You've got some odd days, off days that not everything happens for you, and it will be interesting last round of the Premier League.
I think that Forest. I think that was a good result for them against West Ham. Even though you'd fancy Forest to beat them, they got it done in the end. But Forest and Chelsea, it's in their hands. You know, one of them has got to win the game. So that's the game I'm probably looking forward to more than anything else, because I think it would be fantastic for Forest. I thought they were very poor in the semi-final. I thought I fancied them as favourites to go through, but in the end, Palace done for them. But I feel that if they can finish in that top four, it will be unbelievable.
The thing for Forest is even if they win, and Chelsea haven't won outside London since December, their away record is really, really poor. But even if Forest win that, they need results elsewhere for at least one of those teams to go in their favour. So even winning that might not be enough for Nottingham Forest. It's the draw against Leicester that's put them in that position.
Definitely.
Yeah. Which is why it got so nervy towards the end against West Ham, I think, when they got that 86th minute goal from Jared Bowen. But it's just it's interesting in terms of what the stories will be about each of these teams and how this final game of the season could be defining in terms of how we say their season has gone. So if you look at for Aston Villa, for example, made really good progress in the Champions League. There was an opportunity then for them to qualify for it again. But if they miss out, what do you think the assessment of the season will be?
It will be mixed feelings, I think, especially with losing the semi-final of the FA Cup. You know, if they don't make a Champions League again, that's what the fans expect now, to be in the Champions League. They believe that the club deserves to be in that competition. It will be disappointing, but you know, going into the Europa League will give them a better opportunity, because Unai Emery have a great experience in European football, and he's proven that this season. And I believe the fans will be a little bit disappointed, but also they'll be excited that the Villa will play some European football, but the aim is the Champions League. And Unai Emery said that he wants to be in the Champions League, but it's out of their hands and they have to wait.
8 wins in their last 9. They've done pretty much everything they could to try and get there, when you look at the inconsistency of the teams that are going there. So having said it's impossible to predict. And the thing is, we look at all the predictions and we look at what the form has been as we come into the final game of the season, and then emotion starts to play into it, pressure starts to play into it, results elsewhere start to filter into the players' mind. So Newcastle have got that home game, as we said, against Everton. And again, you just don't know what Everton come off cup final.
Yeah, I think that you look at City and you would have to fancy City to win those 2 games.
And they only really need 4 because of the goal difference.
But the thing is the way they need to finish strong as well, with everything that's going on. Obviously, Kevin De Bruyne leaving. it's going to be quite emotional and all that. But the main thing is that City have to win those 2 games.
Yeah.
You know, to salvage anything.
I'm the opposite. I don't think Man City can win the both games. That's been so unpredictable, so inconsistent all season. I do believe Newcastle will win. Yeah. I do believe that Aston Villa will win, and I believe that Chelsea will win as well.
You think Chelsea will win?
Yes.
Finally, they'll get that away win, that rare away win.
I believe so.
They'll pull it out the fire if they do.
Yeah.
But this is interesting how those games came to the last day of the season.
Yeah.
And all of them are fighting for European sport. And it's incredible. This is why the Premier League is the best league in the world. And it's exciting.
Do you know what I think? When you're talking about Manchester City, one of the things that keeps occurring to me is normally we've said this all season, but Manchester City can perform when it matters. The thing is, what we saw in the FA Cup final, and they did start incredibly well in the cup final. And they obviously had the Henderson red card decision go against City and in Palace's favour. But even then, they didn't perform when it mattered in terms of getting the result in that game. So is that one of the things that's put a bit of doubt into your mind about whether or not they can win the last 2? Yeah,
of course. They haven't been decisive at all. Every big moment throughout the league and the season, it seems like they haven't shown the true colours. You know, they used to be so dominating. They used to control games. They used to when they were expected to get results, they were getting results. But at the moment, that's not the case. It seems like the teams really understand where's the issues now with Manchester City, and they kind of have the confidence to go and get something from them. That's why it's a little bit doubtful for me.
I think the hesitancy as well with Haaland not taking the penalty, experienced striker, you know, top striker in our league. That it kind of brought you into their dressing room a bit. Like there's a little bit of uncertainty. Why would you give it to Marmoush, who's been there half a season? Yes, he's done well, but like, why wouldn't you take the ball, take the responsibility, score the goal, get City back into the game? And that said for me a lot about where City are at the moment. And he missed it.
A great point, right? And you've been a leader of the team. You've been a striker.
I'd like to think I was.
You were a leader. Yeah, we've played together. I've seen it. But the important thing is this is really a big issue, because if you're a leader, it doesn't matter how long you've been. The team is struggling for a while. You go and take that responsibility. You don't give it to somebody else. You go and you take that responsibility. If you felt, you take it.
I felt for Marmoush.
Yeah.
Because he's coming halfway through the season, and 6 and 12, he's done brilliantly adapting to a new style. And, you know, he was very much more transitional where he was playing, and then you've got him now come to City. It's very heavy, like slow build up, and he's adapted well. And for him he's almost finishing the season with the missing the. You know what I mean? Missing. It just felt really like somebody should have taken that responsibility off of him.
It's also true that Haaland's missed a few penalties as well. He's not got a perfect record by any stretch of the imagination.
By his standard, in that game, that's the level. That's where we'll judge Haaland, in those big games, in the big moments. That was a big game in a big moment. They needed to score the goal, and you know he passed the penalty to Marmoush. Can't understand it.
Yeah, Kelly, if you're a captain of the team, you know how the season has panned out. You had a lot of issues. You know the feeling. You know who the main players are. You go and make that decision. You go and take it, because you're our main striker. You miss penalty, but you've scored penalty, and you've been a big player for us, and you make that decision.
Yeah.
That's the way it goes.
I tell you who would have taken that penalty. Jamie Vardy.
Yes.
Who played his 500th game.